Hello and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. Before we get stuck into the game, boys, as big as it was, there's even bigger news. Speechley, he's returned. How you been, mate?
Yeah, look, I think I put a curse on us, I think. Ever since I haven't been on the podcast, we've been quite average. So hopefully got to change the tide this week.
And by us, quite average, of course, he means the footy club, not the podcast in general.
Oh, of course, yes. Thank you.
That's all right. Tell us, how you been, mate? You been good?
Yeah, been good. Just hard working. Just haven't had the time to be with you boys, but good to be back and get stuck into talking about the club we love.
Of course, yeah. There was rumours circulating, jail, dead. Mostly started by me, but that's all right. Of course, we are here this week to talk about the heart-wrenching loss, really. Is it an honourable loss? Maybe, but Blues 10-14, 74, D's 11-13, 79. We're now 12-9. We have lost, I think, 3 in a row now, I think it is, which we have finally dropped down a position to 8th. We held on to that 7th for a little while, but we're now 8th with a huge clash this week, boys. Speech, mate, you're back with us. I'll start with you. Where did you watch the game from, and what are your, key takeaways, first off?
So it was just at home watching it. Couldn't get down to it because of work, but it was just one of those games where you celebrate and you think finally back to September, and then just gets ripped away from you in a matter of seconds. It's just still numb thinking about how we let that slip away, how we're still fighting for that spot in the 8 still, even though it was in our hands. It was just, I don't think we're really beaten on the night. I think there's not really too many areas like I said we're beaten. It's just one of those things where someone's going to lose, and unfortunately it was us.
Absolutely. I think the only thing, if I had to put it down beaten to, and this could just be a me thing, but I think just general marking around the ground, contested marking as well. I think Gawn and Jackson, the two that sort of seemed to be clunking them. And I think we sort of lacked, I don't know if it was TDK missing or whatever, but I remember it was at the Hawthorn game where Hawthorn aren't Melbourne, don't get me wrong. They almost were in the 90s, but they're not now. They just, I don't know, we had TDK, I think it was the Hawthorn game, just take 4 or 5 marks late in the game to soak up the time. But Heath, how did you were at the game, mate, and how did you react?
Yeah, like Speechley said, I think we were fantastic. It probably almost is our first 4-quarter game, because I thought we were fantastic for most of the game, apart from probably the last minute, which was just obviously shattering. I get angry watching it just due to how well we played and we didn't get the result. But that last 2 minutes, I don't know about you guys, but that last 2 minutes was the biggest blur of my life. I don't really remember it at the game. I just saw the ball moving, pinging around, just checking the time on the AFL app, and all these people just asking, what's the time? How long have we got it? And there was a Carlton supporter in front of me standing on the chair when Charlie kicked the goal, and I thought we had it, but wasn't meant to be because of bloody Cozzy Pickett.
Just quietly though, Speech, probably not as much for you if you're watching at home because you've got the countdown timer. But at the game, how long was that fucking quarter, man? It's been the longest quarter of football I've ever actually been to. Which I know it's still just 20 minutes, no time or whatever, but it's 36 minutes or something ridiculous. Paddy, were you there, mate? How were the emotions after the game?
Yeah, mate, absolute pleasure to be back with us, Speechley, of course. But yeah, I think just to start off, I think it's probably one of the first games that I've ever watched really Carlton with. It's not really anger, it's more just sadness and just depressing sort of emotions. After the game, I just had my head in my hands. I just could not believe it. I do have to say it was close to shedding a tear. Maybe I did shed a tear. I hate to say it. But it's just heartbreak, pure heartbreak. I know that a lot of games this season we've kind of said, yeah, that was heartbreak. That was exactly the definition of it. It was pretty much the unlosable. It was kind of Essendon a couple of weeks ago against Collingwood when they shouldn't have lost the game. They pretty much did everything they could to lose that game. And yeah, like as Speechley and Duffy said, I just think I think it was just a lot. We did so well, and I just purely think it was just the pressure. We didn't really know how to handle the pressure, and yeah, D's just showed it why they are probably the best team in the comp right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you said there is brilliantly said, and it's a testament to what Speed said as well, in terms of you couldn't actually be angry because we didn't really get beaten anywhere. There was nothing to be angry at. It was just literally because of what was on the line and the way it happened. It was just pure heartache. Few things to unpack as well. I think it'll be a bit of a long episode tonight. Cripps obviously booed a little bit there, which I think was sort of almost expected, but I was a bit still surprised at. What did you think about that, boys? Were you surprised, one, and two, did you really care? It obviously didn't affect him, so were you surprised by it, Paddy?
I wasn't surprised. I think it was like when they were booed, I was like, well, show him how Stone Cripper. I think that's when he kind of thrives. Just when he kind of has the back against the wall. Like, I know that I was with a Melbourne supporter, a really nice one actually. Like, I mean, it's quite hard to find the opposition supporters, but I think Melbourne supporters, there's not too many of them. I know that there are too many of them, but I know that there are a few that really do love their club, and they're kind of very similar to us with their rebuild and how shit they've been for so long, and they're starting to find some success now. But yeah, I know that there were a few Melbourne supporters behind me, like every single time they were like, 2 weeks, it should have been 2 weeks, I'm like, move on, mate. Just move on. Like, it's not our fault. It's not Cripper's fault. Like, it's not like you hope we don't pay him for Cripper getting off, but I just think we just have to move on. I think it's just the tribunal serving justice, mate.
Just quietly though, booing a player for a football act, an act that happens on a football field, but you've got two people running out there in Melbourne jumpers that belt each other in pubs. I don't know. Which is actually a criminal offence. I don't know. Daffy, what did you think of the bullying?
Well, like I said in the preview, I've got a bit of a soft spot for Melbourne just due to the old fella going for him. But wasn't a fan of that at all. The old fella wasn't a fan of it either. Just, due to Paddy Cripps just being a champion of the game, not just of a footy club. He's always been within the rules. He's never been suspended. He's never done anything stupid off the field like a Degoe or, those types of players. I thought it was just stupid. And like Paddo said, it kind of, got him up and about. It was a bit like Sard last year against Essendon. Just got him up and about. And I will bet my bottom dollar that Collingwood will do it as well.
Yeah. So yeah, that's not really a surprise. Speechley, watching from home, mate, could you really hear or tell there was booing, and what do you think of it?
Well, to be honest, there was a little bit of booing, but it was on tally. It was drowned out a lot by the Carlton cheers. So it was. I mean, there was only about 10 Melbourne fans there, as Paddy said. So I could barely hear it. but yeah, I mean, I wasn't surprised they did it. But I think other than, the Adam Goods. So I mean, has there ever really been a player get booed for an act against or for something that didn't happen against their club? Like,
yeah. Absolutely. It's good to know you're watching the show as well, though. Just as a little Paddo comment there, it shows you had been watching, so that's good.
Always do, every week, mate.
Kennedy, we've got to talk about that as well. I'm not sure if it happened before last week's episode or not, but ruled out for the year with a foot injury, was initially out with fractured jaw or concussion or whatever it was. We get things happen, I guess, outside of it, but there was no real talk from the club I found. Speechley, what did you think of that, mate? Are you shocked by that, or?
Yeah, obviously when a player's missing with concussion and a jaw injury, you're not really going to be suspecting, he's missing in the year because he's got a foot injury. It's probably the last thing you're expecting. But I guess it's footy. But yeah, it's very perplexing how that happened. Just goes in for a routine scan, randomly has a foot injury. That's weird. But obviously it sucks to be without him for the rest of the year, going into potentially finals. Hopefully we get there. But yeah, it's definitely one of the more perplexing injuries to come out this year. And we've had some weird ones.
Absolutely. Ethan, I'll go to you next, and I'm excited for this one. And I want to just throw out Dre Russ's name, and I want to get your opinion on him and the incident as a whole, mate.
Yeah, well, I think, Kennedy's a foot injury. It's probably hard to, I guess, it's not really a soft tissue, which is not really, it's, more of an in-game thing. I think it happened during the Giants game, if I'm not wrong. He might have gone off limping He did come back on the field and obviously play the week after, but I think he's had something niggling with his ankle and foot for most of the year. He's been fantastic this year. But yeah, just on Dre Russ, as we call him, Andrew Russell. I just think he's got to be under the spotlight. There's got to be a point where he's got to be under the spotlight. Obviously, we've had some absolute rubbish injuries that are uncontrollable, but there's some of these soft tissue ones to especially players like Jack Martin and a few others. You know, obviously, you look at Jack Martin's impact on the weekend. You have him for the last 2-3 weeks. We might have, their fortunes might have changed. So, yeah, it's got to be a spotlight. But, it'll be interesting coming into the off-season what we do off the field.
I don't know, what was your opinion on, I guess, this communication from the club around? It's happened a few times before. We haven't really heard a lot about. We did the other day about Cunningham, but it seems like we got long periods of time without hearing about these players and a few shocks sort of injuries, Paddy.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we've seen it a few times over the past few years with players. They kind of just get an injury, and then, I mean, especially with the OMAC, I think at the start of the year it was started off to be maybe a 1-week injury, and then it turns out to be the season, which is just absolutely mind-blowing. But yeah, I think the pressure 100% has to be on Andrew Russell. There's no other. I mean, of course, there might be a little bit of unlucky with Zach Williams, but it's players that matter to this side. Like, it's Zach Williams, Jack Martin. Like, you can name them so many. Even like an Adam Chera, which is a player that you wouldn't really think would be down that road of soft tissue injuries. But once again, he's had a hamstring injury, and then I don't know exactly what the injury was, but I think it's only a 1-weeker. But I know that you boys would probably know. But I think it's just these few players that are really vital to this side, just getting just 1 to 2 week injuries that really matter. And so, like, right now, we probably need it, like an Adam Chera out there now for his class, and even like a George Hewitt with that back injury that started off to be a 1-week injury. Now he's out for the rest of the season, which is gobsmacking.
Just quickly on Chera, I personally think he's been underdone most of the year. He had something niggling because, he's had some, he obviously had a standout game round 1, and obviously everyone's fit usually come round 1. And I think he was out for the Bulldogs game. And since then, he's just been a bit hot and cold, just not having that explosive power with his legs and stuff like that. So let's just hope he hasn't been underdone and forced to play, because that'd just be a little bit stupid.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, with Chera out quite late, Doherty in the midfield, we'll get stuck into it a bit later on, but I didn't mind it. But as I said, we'll get stuck in that later on. I'll run through the predictions real quick just for the sake of time.
Yep.
I had the Blues by 8. Ethan, you had them by 1 point, mate. So you were looking pretty good there. Pat had Blues by 9, so sort of similar to me. Especially, can you tell me your prediction, mate? You weren't here, so run me through what you would have predicted, please.
Look, I had by the shock of none, I had the D's winning. I did have them only by 16. I thought, we'd be competitive a little bit better than we did against the Lions, which we were a lot more competitive than we were against them. But I did give us much credit to win it all, and I mean we almost did, but unfortunately.
I guess in the end we can't give you too much shit. You were right, but overall thoughts of the match we're going to get now. Before we get stuck into some stats, I think we've got to also have some perspective. I think from what we could see on Facebook, most of the supporters took it pretty well. Like, you do realise we are playing the reigning premiers. We were pretty average last year, so to think that we were going, toe-to-toe with the reigning premiers in round, whatever it is, 20-odd, is still pretty good. So some perspective there. But I think we've got to talk about Jake Melksham. I think that's sort of, we've got to address that very, very soon in the podcast, very early on in the piece. 4 goals straight as well, potentially.
4-2, I think.
4-2.
Missed a couple.
One of the goals, I think we had Weeders, a bit unlucky, he spoiled it straight into his lap. Another one of the goals, he sort of the ball just fell into his lap there, right into the boundary. I think we sort of went up and
that's right.
You just missed the ball, and he just went, thank you. Pat, what happened there, mate? We seem to make these sort of nobody players better than they are.
Yep. I think Melksham was probably brought in as soon as Stephen May brought out the nightclub issue. I think it was just like he was just brought in, a great player. But very interesting with Weeders going initially straight on to Melksham. That one was quite interesting, because I know that straight away it was literally first bounce. It was on him, because I was searching. I was expecting Werner to go to Brown, Young to go to Jackson, Marchbank to go to Fritsch, and all of a sudden Vossi has kind of change it all around. But as we spoke about before the episode started, I just think it wasn't really down. Like, I think our defense was exceptional. I just think that to have a guy like Jake Melksham on a guy like Jacob Wettering, who would usually go on that key forward to lock down that player, it looked like he was probably going to try and be that intercept defender. But I think that's why you have a Mitch McGovern down there. So, yeah, that was quite an interesting one. But, yeah, other than that, I think Melksham played well and was probably the match winner.
I'll double up the question before I go to you boys and stick with you, Pato. Is that pretty much where we lost the game, or is there one area you can pinpoint where just we let it go away?
I think it was the ruck domination. I just think that Gordon, Jackson, them two. Of course, I think Pitner did really well, but I just think if we had that other ruckman like a TDK, I think it would have been really handy. But of course, Silvani did well. He's kind of, I mean, I don't really expect too much from him when he's coming up against a Gordon or Jackson. But also, if you've got a guy like TDK in there waiting in the ranks, and you bring in a guy like Silvani to play in the second ruck, seeing it, like actually looking at those two big ruckmen, I know arguably not the greatest call, but of course Silvani held his own when he went forward as well.
Well said, mate. Daff, two questions there. Melksham, mate, and how did we sort of lose this game? Was he the reason?
Well, Jake Melksham gives me nightmares of, I think it might have been 2013. Jared Wade kicked 7. He was playing for Essendon, ran down the wing, kicked the goal. All the Bomber wankers celebrated in our face. But, yeah, that was a little fella and that wasn't a good night. But, yeah, he was fantastic. I wouldn't really class him as a nobody, to be honest. I think he's, you know, you got to give him some respect. He's played footy for a while and, you know, always, well, at Essendon, he played most weeks, and at Melbourne, probably just back into last year, didn't get a game. Obviously, didn't play in the grand final, just due to how many good players they have. But yeah, geez, it was interesting to see Weeders on him. I think, if I'm not wrong, I'm not sure. Did Gawn start forward at the first bounce?
Yeah, he did.
I think that might have. Yeah, it's just, yeah, it was a bit weird that I think they kind of shuffled it a bit, which is good by their coaches. But yeah, I guess, you know, letting Jake Melksham off the leash probably doesn't help obviously lets them win. But just on Pato's point with the rucks, I personally don't see both Pitto and Teddy K playing a game together for the rest of the year. I just think I loved Pitto on the weekend. I thought he was fantastic. He's just that natural ruck. Big body, got into Gawn, who I think, you know, obviously like Pato said, was taking marks around the ground, but I just didn't feel like he really dominated. I thought Sauce did well, and just our midfield group, even though it was a bunch of blokes, some of the blokes who weren't really midfielders most of the year, it worked out well. So it was just up to Cozzy, really. Cozzy the bastard.
Yeah, also, no, it's a fair point with Melksham in terms of, you know, not a nobody, but I mean, in regards to our backline, he should really be a nobody. I know that sounds rude, but like, you look at Jacob Weedering, Lewis Young, Govern there, whatever. Like, he should, in theory, have very little impact. But I see your point. Speechley, same questions to you, mate.
Yeah, obviously, Melksham's one of my least favourite players in the game. Probably purely from that Essendon game. Not the first time he's won the game against us. But it's just frustrating seeing a guy like that. I mean, yeah, he's played over 200 games for footy, but right now he's in the twilight of his career. He shouldn't be kicking 4 goals against a back line that's got Weedering, Young, McGovern. Like, it's just frustrating. I think, when you look at it that way, it's probably, he kicked 4 goals and Charlie Kerner kicked 1 goal. Like, you think who's the better player? And we kept Bailey Fritsch to only 1 goal. So I think we did a good job there, and that was just a cheap down the ground free kick that wasn't there. But yeah, I think, to the rucks, I think Pitto and Sauce did okay, but we really are missing a true number 1 ruckman, because Pitto is not a number 1 ruck. Like, he's our number 1 ruck, but he's not like the league. Like, in terms of the league, he's not a great number 1 ruck. And TDK, we did miss his marking around the ground. Obviously, Gordon, Jackson killed us like that, but I think we are missing a true dominant number 1 ruck. I think that will really unlock our midfield. But yeah, Melksham, just I don't want to see him kick another goal against us. I can't deal with his face.
Thanks, guys. Welcome back.
with Gorn as well, he said, and I think Jackson mentioned as well. Yeah, so 5 and 4 contested marks, and 9 contested marks between them, which was the game high with Harry equally on 4th. So yeah, I think that's sort of one of the areas where we lost, in my opinion. We missed that sort of a TDK, as I said, mentioned before, like just towards the last couple of minutes to take them a few marks. Although we should have really been able to close out the game better than what we did. But yeah, we'll get stuck into some stats, but just on Gorn too. You played on, but anyway, that's all right. We'll move on from that. Nothing too there's nothing too ungodly in terms of disposals. Just stats in general. Like they had 58 inside 50s to our 48, which is again credit to our defense for holding that up in terms of just 58 is a huge amount, but comparatively to 48, it's obviously more so. But looking at that. Paolo, the stats sort of there. There's nothing really that stands out too much to you, is there?
Yeah, absolutely spot on. I just really think it was just that last minute or 2 minutes when we just had those options when we probably arguably under that pressure we just didn't know how to handle it. But yeah, just like they're like the key stats, and there really isn't really much difference between the two, and that's a premiership side, like that's a reigning premiers. So it just shows that when our best footy is there, and mind you, we had a lot of players out of our midfield, and I think that their midfield probably wasn't overly great other than their rucks. I just think that their impact wasn't really there. So that just shows that how great our midfielders did. Like Will Setterfield, he was fantastic. Like he had 26 touches, but I think he was great. So it's going to be interesting now because I don't think a guy like Dow, I don't reckon he's here next year because I reckon Setterfield will probably be that midfield depth, and I don't want him to be on the wing because I know that I was saying, I would love to be him on the wing. Probably doesn't have the running capacity to really be a winger. So I think that him on the ball, he was fantastic. But other than that, I just think that the stats there are very, very similar, and it's just a shame that we lost.
Yeah, well said, mate. Setterfield second game high for inside 50s was 7. I think he played pretty well. The biggest stat that stands out to me is the 23 to 13 free kicks. A lot of them going to one individual at Melbourne, which I won't talk about because I want speech to mention later on. But since we're on speech, we'll go to you, mate. Nothing too different there, mate.
I think disposal efficiency, it was bad. I think we shot ourselves in the foot a lot with just poor kicks, both out of D50 and inside forward 50. I think just didn't look. I think a lot of times we kicked to 3-on-1s going forward, and that was, I don't know what was with that. And then going on the 23 to 13 free kicks. I don't know how you can lay 87 tackles in a game and get one holding the ball, and that holding the ball, Harry didn't even really tackle. A tackle. Like I don't get how that works. Like 87, and only get one. Like okay, the umpires didn't lose the game, but it makes you wonder.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Well said. Now we'll go to you. Don't mention that individual yet. We'll do that later. Ethan, we'll go to you, mate. How do you see us losing this game, stats wise?
Oh yeah, we look at umpiring, and I don't like to blame the loss on umpiring. We didn't, I'm not blaming the loss, but there was one umpire. I'm actually not going to name him. I won't name him now. He gave away 6 free kicks leading to goals for both sides, and obviously 5 of them were D's goals and 1 were Carlton. But we'll move on from that. But yeah, just looking at just stats overall, touching on our midfield, we won the clearances against the premiership midfield, and before the game we're talking about all the big names and how worried we are, and we can match up against anyone, and we've just got to make the finals and see what happens. That's the big test for us this week, just making it and see where it can take us. But you look at the numbers, obviously we lost the hitouts 57 to 36 due to just having that one ruckman, but it wasn't a major difference because we won the clearances 47 to 44. Obviously centre clearances 10 to 9, which is huge for us because I don't know the last time we won centre clearances. Stoppage clearances 37 to 35. So that was just huge. And like I said, when the siren went, we fucking deserved to win the game. Simple as that.
Yeah, mate, it's your job. You've jumped ahead a little bit there, but that's all right. We like that. So we'll get into the midfield now. As Daffy just said, 57 to 36 hitouts. We won the clearances overall with 10 above our average, which is pretty good. Centre clearances, Adelaide, we had 8, which we and then 9 last week against Brisbane. It's only one more, but Lions had 23. Whereas this week we've only had 10, which is one more. But you can also put it down to how many centre bounces there actually was, I guess. But yeah, we actually had more, so that's good. And Doc with game high, I think it was, with 4 centre clearances, and then stoppage clearances 37 to 35, which is 13 above our average as well, which is pretty impressive. So we've got to Pete. So what's your thoughts on that as a whole, considering our midfield? Cherry goes out just before the bounce, and Doc sort of plays on the ball. And what are your thoughts there, mate?
Yeah, I think we covered our losses as well. I think we ever could have dreamed of. Obviously, we know Chera late and then no Hewitt or Kennedy as well. I think you go into that and you think, well, how are we going to win a clearance against Pachaka, Viney, Oliver? You think we're going to get absolutely smashed. And to our credit, I mean, we didn't. I think Doherty came in, obviously played that centre role and was very good. Cripps obviously stood up and played a captain's game. And I think, Walshy didn't have a Walshy game, but I still think he did his job. And I think, Petrarca was average. I don't think he kicked that goal that was overhyped a lot because Clary did all the work. But yeah, he didn't really do much. And I just think our midfield really took it to them, and I definitely was not expecting that. So I was very proud of that effort. And speaking of their midfielders, can I just say, Jack Viney, I love him. He's a gun. But he just quietly is one of the most protected players in the league. He had 4 free kicks given on the weekend, none against, even though he was holding the ball probably 6 times at least. Spun around, as he gets 30 seconds to get rid of it. And then as well, the dangerous tackle on Walsh that wasn't paid, dumped his head in the ground. And then, as not Viney, but Cosy Pickett gets fined for a dangerous tackle on Stocker, but it wasn't paid, a dangerous tackle for a kick. There's little things like that. It ticks you off when you're watching the game, but yeah, just quietly. I think it's a weekly thing though with Viney. Just quietly, he gets away with a lot and gets given a few free kicks. So just quietly, he's just a bit of a protected species. Just even though he's a very good player and is a hard player, but yeah, just quietly, which I didn't suspect until the weekend.
Fuck, say just quietly one more time.
Sorry.
He's gone early. I've got to say, look, I thought that was going to be later on in the show, but he's gone early, and I liked it. I missed that. It's good to see, mate. And of course, Skipper as well. 10 clearances, which is just great. They get a fantastic game. Sauce with 7, and 6 to Walsh and Doc. Pato, what were your thoughts on, I guess, their game and just the clearances, mate?
Yeah, that surprised me about Sauce, to be honest. I think it just showed how how well he kind of did in the ruck when he was coming up against Gordon Jackson. I just think he did really well. But of course, it would have been a little bit handy with that other ruckman because we might have actually we may have been able to give a little bit more clearances to those midfielders like Cripper and Walsh and Doc. But yeah, how good was Cripper? I'm kind of glad that I heard a lot of boos because it just showed how much of an impact he had. And yeah, Doc in the midfield. That's saying when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, this is a scary sight. Yeah, but he held his own. It's not like he's been in there a lot, and I know that he probably was experimented a little bit as a midfielder at Brisbane as well. And I think he may have played in the midfield in his draft here, but I think he was great. It's probably something that we probably won't move forward with. I don't really know if I really want him in the midfield because we all know how good he can be off the half back. But yeah, that's a great thing that we kind of saw because it's something needed to give. Something needed to actually, we need someone to step up, and Sam Doherty was that player. I know that Duffy had him under the pump last week, and yeah, he was just one of those players that really, really stepped up.
Yeah, of course, 75% centre-bounce attendances, which is, crazy. I'll go back to you, Pato, before we go to Heath. Just in terms of going forward, can you see it happening more with Zach Williams coming in? You've got Gov and Zach and all that. Can you see Doherty potentially, starting still half back or whatever, but going potentially on the ball in the centre a bit more? Or is it a good avenue to have if we need it, I guess?
Yeah, I think... as I said, I just don't think Doc is really that player that will transition through the midfield. I would rather a Zach Williams be that player. I think we all remember him kind of having that great game against Collingwood in the prelim final, and that's kind of stuck into my mind how good that was. So I think if we have a player like Doc who really can perform well in the midfield, and we know that, I think it's great to have him there. But I think we all know how good he can be, and I would rather see a guy like Setterfield, who's a midfielder who performed really well in the midfield alongside a Chera or even a Hewitt.
Yeah, well said, mate. Ethan, go to you. Anything else to add in terms of that? And obviously the Jack Viney discussion. You watch pretty much every Melbourne game, mate. So what's your opinion, I guess, around that? And obviously Doc game high 4 centre clearances. Can you see him playing more midfield in the future, or how do you see it?
Yeah, so I'll just quickly touch on Viney. I rate him highly. Like Jack said, I think he's a superstar. And this year, he's really stepped up again. I think in the final series last year, he was enormous and great player. It's not on him. It's more on the umpires really just protecting him. So, but we'll move on to the Doc conversation. I love him in the middle. He was, I think, 2017 before he did his ACL. Before the 2018 season, we're actually looking at him being a midfielder after his All-Australian year. There was a lot of talk about him going midfield. Jesus Christ, he looks pretty natural to me on the weekend. He just, especially the last month or so, I think our midfielders have been kind of handball first too much, especially in the centre clearance. We just handball that one extra, you just put, they put the pressure on, and he's one of those blokes who likes to have a kick. So, he was fantastic. I thought he had 10, 12 tackles. That's huge numbers for a guy who's, predominantly that loose half backer. But yeah, they were fantastic in the midfield. I thought Sauce was enormous. Obviously hit outs is tough when you're versing 2 natural ruckmen. And, I just love Jack Silvani. The work he puts in every week. He's so underrated. People still think he's shit from other teams. I can't believe that their knowledge on football is so bad. So bad. And obviously Cripper dominated. But yeah, just on Zach Williams, I don't think you put him in the middle straight away. I think, last year, obviously round 2 when he came in after his suspension, wasn't the most fantastic debut for the club in the middle, and he just didn't have the tank. I think the start of the year, this year, he's been enormous and much fitter, and obviously he probably can pinch hit in there for a couple minutes, but I think he comes straight in for Nunes next week for mine.
Can I run this by you? This is my thinking, and I don't claim to be the smartest bloke, right? Well said, by the way. Zach Williams, right? Saw him today at the club. If you haven't got down there, get down there. It looks fantastic, right? Zach Williams, we're playing the curtain raiser in the VFL, right? Before the AFL, yeah? In the weekend. Is there any reason why he can't be named an emergency? I'm not saying play a full game. I'm not saying play 2 games, like the bloke kill himself. Play a half, see how he goes, how he feels, and even just be named emergency, which is what I said before, this Thursday, then gets named as a sub for this AFL, because you can do that. You can still play VFL, then get named as a sub, I believe. I know it works the other way. So is that a possibility, Speechley?
It's an interesting call. It's a big call. It'd be a risky move to pull that, especially with him coming off an Achilles injury, if you're going to play him, risk him potentially doing it in the VFL. It's a bold move. It'd be a brave move to do. I don't mind it at all. I definitely don't mind it, but as he said, I'd probably have him in straight in though, especially for Nunes, personally though. But that is I do like that idea though.
I don't think it is that bold, because you're wasting one, you're wasting an emergency spot. Otherwise, I think the other option is don't name him as an emergency. You just cop the fine with it. But even still, name him as an emergency. He takes up 1 emergency spot. It's not a big deal. Yeah, we have 4 emergencies. However many you have. Why? I don't see how that's that big of a deal. Because they name the sub just before the game starts, don't they? So they can still be 50-50 on who the sub's going to be, whether it's a Dow, who will probably play VFL as well. So it's probably no different to him or whatever. But yeah, just play even the back half or play a half of the game. And then, I don't know, Paddo, am I being crazy, mate? Tell me.
Nah, you're not being crazy. I don't mind the call, but I think with a guy like Williams, I think you have to play him. You have to play him if he's fit. You have to play him. You have to take that risk. It's round 23. It's a do or die clash. You have to have a guy like Zach Williams out there. You can't have a guy like Jack Nunes playing the halfback. That's just my opinion. You can't have a guy like him who performed the way that he did on the weekend. And yes, you don't want to single out one player, but of course he didn't really live up to the pressure, which is unfortunate. Like, I do like Nunes, but I would much rather Zach Williams in there And I would rather take that risk knowing that we have a medical sub, because if he isn't really that fit and we know that he probably wasn't up to it, we just bring in the medical sub. But yeah, that's just my opinion. I just think we have to play Zach Williams on the field.
Heath, you've got contacts within the club, mate. You're high up. Tell me, what do you think of the idea? Can you run it by them for me?
That is wrong. I have no contacts within the club, and I respect your idea, but there is 0.1% chance of that happening. I think he'll play. I think, like Paddo said, he's do or die, man. He's got to play. I think he's fit. He's been training with the full training program for the last 3 or 4 weeks. So if he's not ready, then I'm not sure what Dre Russ has been doing for the last 4 weeks, just sitting on his ass doing nothing. So, it'll be interesting. You slot him in the back six. Fuck me, is Collingwood arguing kicking a goal, mate? But yeah, you got him and Saad there. You got Chuck Dock in the middle. You don't need him down back. You got Marchie, Gov, Young, Weeders. It's pretty good back six. So, Zachy boy, get back into the side and get that run and dash off half back.
Absolutely, mate. He got his salad into him today at the cafe. I saw that. A bit weird, a bit stalkish, but I saw it. Especially, just on Saad, Daffy just mentioned it. I mean, we all know your thoughts. A year ago, you hated the bloke, right? I would say, like, how good is this bloke? Like, the ability, I can't remember who it was, but the ability to actually, I think he, like, ran at the bloke and then just sort of pivoted last second and got the left foot around him. Like, how good is this bloke, especially? And just the emotion he felt for the club. How good is he?
Hey, look, hate's a strong word. Was disappointed and was expecting more. But he is a very, very good footballer. He's top 3 best and fairest this year, easily. When he's up and going, and for Flight Side, he is very, very fun to watch, and I'm very, very happy he's at our football club. Very, very happy. I love him.
The ability, right? Even when the ball's in dispute, whatever, like he's playing basketball at times, and he can just bounce it up to himself and take it and takes blokes on. And fuck me. Anyway, we'll move into just general possession and possessions of the football. Look, they're a pretty tough team. You know, talking about Viney, who's just one of the tough cookies there. Brayshaw wears a helmet, so it's less tough. But look. We were good, I think, with Doc and Cripper. But I just feel their contested marking and just marking in general, for me, I spoke about TDK before and the potential for him there, but I just felt like in the first half, I sent the stat through, I can't remember what it was, but we're getting just sort of outmarked. You write the marking stats here. So 72 to 61 overall. 61 is 36 below our average, which can get put down to a few things. Marks inside 50, 11 to 7, so get out there. Contested marking 22 to 12, which is quite a big difference. That's double their average, and it's about on our average. Daffy, do you read into that, mate? Do you agree with me, or what's your opinion on it?
Oh, yeah, you kind of have to, looking at those stats, especially the contested marking. For me, I think Harry, like you said, had probably game high. Was it 4 or 5? I thought he was phenomenal contested marker. I just thought, obviously, Charlie had his chances, but just contested. Didn't take as many as he usually does, those pack marks. But it was one of those games for me. I don't think marking was the way you were to win the game. There was even Durds was flying at balls, and it was just good. It was good to see, like just a one-on-one where he's against Petty or who gives a shit who you're on?
Was that? Yeah,
go for it. I felt their defenders weren't very great. I thought Harry gave May a bath, to be honest with you. But it is frustrating, but it's like, what can you do? Because the personnel out there, I think, we weren't tiny. We weren't going out there with, one ruck and no tall forwards and no key backs. So, it's interesting.
Yeah, so club high was Harry for us, for the Blues of 4, but the two top were, as I said, Max Gorn with 5, Jackson with 4, which you expect because it's being big blokes. But especially, how do you read into that, mate?
I think a lot of it, especially in terms of us being below average, was just Melbourne's structure behind the ball. I think they didn't let us move the ball how we wanted to move the ball. And obviously, not having TDK, as we've said, to not take the contested marks. But yeah, it was mostly just their structure, not letting us chip the ball around and move it from there. I think is probably the main sort of factor for the marks being down. But I didn't really think, as Ethan said, that marks were that big. Everything else just uncontested marks. I think the game was won with in tight contested ball, and we did that pretty well. But unfortunately, just let ourselves down in the end. But yeah, I wasn't too fussed. I mean, we let them have their way a little bit in terms of the corridor, but I thought neither team was able to control the corridor. So I thought that was fine. I wasn't too fast, other than the contested marks and not being able to bring the ball to ground as much as we normally would.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go to you now, Pato. Just contested possessions as well. I mentioned 175 to 156. What was your opinion on that?
Yeah, absolutely spot on speech with the whole structure. Completely agree with that. I just think that it just shows that how good Melbourne really are. Like, yes, arguably they probably weren't playing great. I personally think that they were playing pretty well. I just think small aspects of the game probably didn't really turn out too well for them. But yeah, their structure is the best in the comp, and they are the best in the comp for a reason. But yeah, with the contested possessions, I don't know. I don't really know where to read it, just because I think it's a little bit like we were pretty similar in that sense of the game. But I just think like we were so hard at the ball, man. I just think one thing with Durden, like when he went up against Harrison Petty, I went on my feet and said, "Well done, Corey Durden." That is a guy that is playing for himself. Well, he's not playing for himself, but he's playing for a spot in this side, and he's trying so hard to get into this side because, I mean, like he's been medical sub and unfortunately got injured a couple of weeks ago. But it just shows that how much passion and some like the intent for the footy that also Jack Martin. I'll say this also, his pressure. Where has that been in your career at the Carlton Football Club? Like, I was like, arguably, I mean, like we'll get into it later, but I think he was very close to best on ground for me because he was fantastic with his pressure, and he just created something. And yeah, but other than that, yeah, I just think I don't know.
I completely agree, mate, with on Jack Martin. But his career as well at the club has been on the sidelines, a lot of it. Like, it just seems the way it goes down. But when that, as he showed on the weekend, if that bloke gets a game, if he actually can string a few games together, he's definitely a highly valued member of the team, in my opinion. And I think 3 goals in the end, did he? Or a couple?
Yep.
So, yeah, I think he done very well. And another person I'll get stuck into, I'll mention as a positive, not get stuck into. Don't know why I said that. One of your faves, Heath, is Lewis Young. Just, I think it was 3, I wrote the acronyms, I don't even understand, but 3 contested marks, I think it was, which we sort of mentioned a few weeks ago, just his ability to actually sort of spoil when he can mark, which he still definitely spoiled. He had 24 spoils, which is his career record, so career high, and over double his average, which is just a super game. 5 intercept marks, which is a season high for him, and 3 contested marks as a whole. Ethan, how'd you read his game, mate?
Phenomenal. He was absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, we've talked about him and Weeders the last month or so just being a little bit off compared to, you know, the expectations we have of them, considering the form they had at the start of the year was, you know, obviously got higher as the games went on. But just reading this tweet now that's just come up on my phone, talking about spoils. He's at 186 spoils, 17 more spoils than any other player in the AFL this season, despite not playing every game. He's just a natural kind of defender. I just like the way he goes about it. And what is he, 21? Jesus Christ. He's only going to get better. He's only going to get better. And I felt like on the weekend, like you said, he took more marks. And I think he led the game for intercept marks as well, which is huge, considering his spoil numbers were huge as well. So I think he was, we had a few good defenders in there, but I think he was that one that was just vital for us. I think he locked down Ben Brown for majority of the game. But yeah, no, it was good to see.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Completely agree. Especially, how'd you read his game? I mean, it's hard not to read it as fantastic, I would have thought, but you can read things a bit differently at times.
No, I thought it was good. I just wish those stats read he had 23 spoils and 6 intercept marks when he spoiled that last one when we had 3-on-1 with 50 seconds left.
Yeah, absolutely.
But other than that blimp, he was phenomenal. Obviously, Ben Brown wasn't cited. Sorry, I mean, which isn't a surprise. He's not cited most weeks. But, yeah, I mean, Young was phenomenal. Did his job. marked the ball, which was very surprising, as we said. Always expecting to go up with at least one fist. Do still get a little nervous when he goes to kick the ball. But yeah, he was phenomenal. Yeah, just wish he took that last mark.
Whoa, what have we got going there? We'll move through it anyway to Paddo. Look, mate, we do say, it does get, I don't know if you hear it, but at the game, depends where you sit maybe, whenever Youngie does go out for a spoil or do something brilliant, you do hear the Liam who, which we won't go into now, but Paddo, what are your thoughts on his game, mate? Phenomenal, what I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was absolutely fantastic, wasn't he? I think Speech said it there. I just think he locked down Ben Brown to an absolute T. And yeah, like I rate Brown somewhat. I think when he actually gets a footy, that's when he can do his damage. But it's actually when he actually gets a footy, that's his problem. So yeah, I thought Lewis Young did well, and especially when a Luke Jackson or a Max Gawn came down there, he was the player that had to step up. And yeah, I thought he just did that really well. Because I mean, as we spoke about, he's 23, so it's not like he's a very experienced defender. And I know that he wasn't playing a lot of backline at the Doggies. He was kind of shifted around. Of course, he was initially a backliner. But yeah, I thought as soon as he came over, yeah, he's really impressed me, and he's probably arguably the most improved player at Carlton, which there's many of them, but yeah, I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah, well said, mate. It's actually a good question you asked there. Most improved player. I'll get everyone's thoughts to that in a minute. But look, yeah, you brought it up there earlier. Speechly, we didn't ask you the question. Paddo, Daffy, we know your thoughts on Liam Jones, but what are your thoughts on Liam Jones, mate? We've already got the compensation pick. He's all but gone to the Dogs. Would you have taken him back to a Speech?
Probably not. I think we haven't had a 30-year-old play game this year, and we've been fine. I don't think we needed him. Obviously, Young's done probably exactly what Liam would have done at a younger age. So I look as good as he was, and as as good as all he did for us. Yeah, I personally wouldn't have.
Well said, Speechley. Always good to get your opinion, mate. We're going to start in the best on ground now. Ethan, who do you have, mate?
Yeah, my best on ground. I was trying to think outside the box. I thought there was a few blokes that really could have been best on ground. There's plenty. But for mine, this guy was in the media, obviously, due to the being suspended for 2 weeks initially, getting off, which was a controversy in the AFL world, even though he was going for the pill. But Paddy Cripps, captain's game, like Speechley said earlier, 26 touches, 12 tackles. He was hard to the ball early. You could tell we were on. When he's on, we're on. 4 marks and 73% disposal efficiency when our efficiency wasn't very high for the whole night. And his is, usually lower than most blokes. So, and one play for his was that inboard kick to Charlie, and then Charlie hooked around to Harry, which was over the back. That was really Cripper starting that run through the pack. Hit Kerno on the tit, and then he wheeled around to Harry, who was out the back. Stephen May was in, I don't know where the hell he was, but yeah, it was a good goal. But yeah, well done by Cripper. Good game.
Completely agree, mate. I probably would have had the same, otherwise maybe Doherty. But Paddo, who do you have?
Yeah, I'm changing my mind, late. I know that a few people. I know that last week I was about to change my tips. I think I did change my tips late to the big Harry Mackay for first goal, but I've gone Jack Martin. Because, and I'm going to explain why. I think it's when we played our best footy, our best passage, our best quarter. I mean, we played a great game overall, but I just think that his just intent for the footy was kind of Cripper-like. When he kind of when he went for the footy, the crowd was up and about as well. It was just that's the Jack Martin we want to know. That's the Jack Martin that we want to see, and he makes things happen. So he kicked 3 goals and he finished with 9 touches with, of course, that he's playing as a forward. I would love for him to get more of the footy. 3 tackles as well, but I want to try and see how many 1%ers he actually had, because I reckon any speed, you never really see how quick he actually is, but my word is he quick. He is so quick to the footy, and he just chased down tackles after bumps and laying that extra bump, that extra hand on the jumper to mess up the kick of the opposition. Like, I know that last week I saw it as well with against Brisbane. I think it was a tackle involving Chera. And he was just that guy that went for he wanted to hurt him. And like, he's just not, I feel like that's what's kind of changed with Jack Martin is he's not that type of nice player anymore. He's that guy who wants to hurt his opposition. And that's exactly what we kind of need in this forward line. And he was fantastic, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. He's definitely a vital player, as we said before, to this best 22, just the pressure, just everything, as you just mentioned. Speechly, who was your best, mate?
Just before, I'm just glad Paddo got his My Word in. It wouldn't be a Baggers Chat episode if we didn't get a My Word from Paddo. So good to see that get in there. But yeah, I mean, can't go past the skipper. Cannot go past the skipper for best on. He was just phenomenal, as Ethan said. Just was so happy that he was able to, use the booze as fuel and almost get us over the line. But he was best on for both teams by far for me.
Well said, mate. We've covered everything. We've got best on ground. So we've covered every square inch of the fucking MCG. How big? Sorry, Paddo. So the swear word. How big is this weekday? In all seriousness, we'll get stuck into it in the preview in the coming days. There could be a few things unfolding, maybe with players, whatever. We'll see what happens there. We'll see who's named. We're playing for finals. When's the last time this happened, Speechless? Oh, sorry. We're going to mention as well. Charlie, Coleman, already pretty much locked in now, which is great. So good on you.
I wouldn't be locking it in yet.
Lock it in. Lock it in. Lock it in. Lock it in. Look, we're playing. Speechless, Statsman, you are back. This is a question for you. When was the last time any club or the Blues played on the same day even for a spot in the finals in both the seniors and reserves? Because no one talks about it, but we're playing for a spot in the finals in the VFL this week too, boys. We are currently sitting, I think it's an eight spot, equal points with the Tigers, who are playing Frankston, who are a bottom 4 or 5 side, right? And we're playing, obviously, Collingwood, who are higher above than us. So we do need to win this game to make seniors finals, reserves finals. When's the last time that happened, Speechley?
I'm going to be honest, I don't know. Well, it wouldn't have happened in my lifetime that both have made finals.
What a good sign, though. As much as they're playing for finals, it's not locked in. But how good is that? That, like, the VFL, in my opinion, like we speak about the seniors and the injuries, as much as they get decimated, the VFL even more so. They've got to bring in these random no-names from, no offense to them, from other clubs and do what they can because seniors get decimated. Our AFL listed players in the VFL going to the seniors. There's no one in the VFL, and they're still playing for finals this week. So great signs for the Carlton Footy Club. So kudos to them. And that's about it from me. Is there anything else you boys wanted to mention?
Huge week. Just before the preview, get to the game. Get to the ground.
Get to the games. Games too.
Games. Just get to the G. Doesn't matter what time. Just be there. Get around it. And let's get into those pies. It's time for revenge.
You're right, mate. Doesn't matter what time, but I'll see you three boys there at 11:30 a.m. for a beer prior to the VFL.
Your shout, mate, the first round?
Oh, when isn't it? 11:45, right? It starts at the G, which is pretty early. I haven't woken up that early to see a Blues team since they played in fucking New Zealand. But still, good to see. Good to have them both on the same day. Should have more of it. We love to see it. We'll touch on the women's footy as well from last week. Played before the men's. Fucking terrible. But anyway, I watched every game last year, and there's always so much hype going into the season, and that was pretty pathetic. But anyway, anything else you want to do, boys?
Just shit myself, mate. Shit myself. But imagine if we get it done. Imagine the G. 100,000 and 50,000. There will be 50,000 people lining out the front. It's just going to be an awesome Sunday, hopefully.
Mate, don't imagine if, imagine when, because we are winning this week. We'll talk about it in the preview, but we are not. I was talking to Terry from Blue and Broad, shout out, at the club today that I was there. Make sure you boys get down. Good discounts on at the moment. Good to be good. It's just so good what they've done there. Anyway, look, he's very confident. He can't see us losing this game. De Goey potentially out. It doesn't matter. Ginnivan definitely out, but it doesn't matter. We play who we play. We beat them. Like, in all seriousness, who did the D's have out this week? They had no one out. that I know of. And we have two of our midfield bulls. No Hewitt, no Kennedy, and we still almost and should have fucking won. We can beat Collingwood. They're pretenders. They're no one. Who cares? We will win this game of fucking football.
Wheels are falling off at Victoria Park.
Yeah, scum down there. They lose to Sydney, then they're going to lose to the Blues. They're playing for top 4. We're playing for top 8. It's a big game. It's a huge game. Speech should be there. Everyone will be there. That's it from me. Thank you for following, doing it all. Paddo, mate, bring us home, please.
Can't wait for the preview, boys, of the Collingwood game. But as always, boys, up the burgers!
Go on the Blues!
Go on the burgers!